Hindi ko na pala may edit yung details nung meetup. So parang binessage ko na lang sila. Game na ba?
Okay, so live na rin tayo sa YouTube. Copy ko lang yung streaming link. Share ko sa'yo, Mickey. Tapos pa-share din pala yung link ng questions, share din natin kay Arvs. Ayun na. Okay. I-PM ko na lang sa'yo, Arvs.
Sige.
Dito sa...
Zoom.
Yep.
Parang nasa living room lang tayo. Tambayan lang. Hindi nakikita yung slides mo, Matt? Hindi na
hindi pa.
Okay. Actually, wala pang nagjo-join. Tayo pa lang. Hindi nila na-receive. Yun, meron na. Sige, let's just wait for a few more attendees before we start.
Hey everyone, we'll just wait for a few minutes for people to start coming in, then we'll start. So we'll wait for 5 more minutes. Perhaps we can start at around 5:15. All right, so we'll wait for 3 more minutes and then we'll start. All right, so I think we'll just start and then yeah, perhaps as we go on, people will just start coming in, and then we'll just admit them as they come. Right. Also, we're also live on Facebook, rather on YouTube. So to those who are here, well, we'll post a link on chat. Perhaps you could share the link to your friends who may want to join us through there. Right. So welcome everyone. It's been a long time since Python PH uh, has had a public event. So this is a start of hopefully a series of webinars featuring different Pythonistas from different roles. So welcome to a day in the life of work from home Pythonista. So this is a monthly virtual webinar talk show series where we interview Pythonistas representing various roles from developers, CTOs, data scientists, QA, network engineers, essentially any role that you who may be using Python in their jobs or their hobbies. And this is also to give people in the community an insight of what a typical workday looks like for these people. Hopefully, this would also serve as an inspiration and give a sense of community, especially since I believe a lot of us have been working from home since the pandemic hit us. Um, so, so my co-host Miki will talk about the format that we could expect over the next 30 minutes or so. Right, Miki?
Hello. Um, so the format of the show is we will first start with the introduction for our guest speaker, Arbs, and then we'll have a quick virtual tour of his work home office setup, and then we'll have a Q&A of questions from us, and then later on you will have the chance to ask your own questions. Okay, after the talk show.
All right. So, um, all right. So I before we start, I'd like to introduce our guest for today. So um, his his Joshua Arvin Lat. He currently works as the Chief Technology Officer of Newworks Interactive Labs. He previously served as also as the CTO of three Australian-owned companies and startups. He's also an AWS machine learning hero and has spearheaded and led the machine learning zero to hero online international events. And for the past couple of years, he has been working, or rather, he has been sharing his knowledge in several international and local conferences and events to discuss practical strategies for companies and professionals. He is also the author of a machine learning engineering book called Amazon SageMaker Cookbook: Practical Solutions for Developers, Data Scientists, and Machine Learning Engineers Using R and Python. This is slated to be released sometime this year. Yeah, so without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Arbs, and perhaps he could share his work setup and talk about how his day is like. So, yeah, Arbs, you can take over the screen for me.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mick and Matt. So for to start off with, thank you again for inviting me to this event. It's great that we are able to have something like this to discuss the things which are not usually talked about when it comes to work. Because I think now that we are working at home, things are different. Yeah. So sometimes when we go to work, we go to the office environment. sometimes it's easier because you don't have to worry about the things at home. But now that those two things have been merged, sometimes you will have to take into consideration the budget. For example, internet cost. And also you have to worry about the team. So especially from my role, I have to also understand the IT needs. So for example, somebody wants to request for approval for an upgrade in their laptop or the internet connection. I have to worry about that because if you have to support one, you have to support almost everyone, right? And it also depends per city. So sometimes there are times when, let's say there's a typhoon, and you have to create a policy or a protocol to handle those who are um, to handle those in areas in the Philippines where you need more help. You have to think about that as well. So at least from my end, I'll share my techniques and the things I have experimented with, and hope you can try them out yourself so that it would be much easier for you to adapt to the work from home setup. Yeah, so I think it's time for me to share my screen. Yeah. Just looking for my screen. Where is it? Ah, there you go. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so this one would be quick, just a 5-minute intro, and basically a few discussion points like the work from home setup, my schedule, and then probably I'll share a quick video on what I really want to share with you on one of the things that I focus on. Yeah. So let me start. So yeah, so again, I am Joshua Arvin. I am the Chief Technology Officer of NewWorks Interactive Labs. I take care of the tech product and IT teams of NewWorks. I'm also an AWS Machine Learning Hero. You can check it out on the internet by typing AWS Machine Learning Hero. There are, I think, around 17 to 20 machine learning heroes around the world who help share different techniques on machine learning, especially for the AWS stack. And I'm also an author of a machine learning engineering book. So Matt has discussed that earlier. I'm also a certification subject matter expert for AWS. So in the past, they also had me help contribute to updating the AWS machine learning specialty exam. So of course, I won't share those questions and answers with you, but they really have improved the way they um, prepare those exams to validate capability and knowledge and experience. So I'll start off with the work area. So this is more or less my current work area. Sometimes I go to different areas in my house to work, but 80% of the time this is where I work. Um, so if you were to compare this with my office setup, I think 1 to 2 years ago, of course I was in Makati. I was working there. I had my own room, a black table, and I can focus there without any interruptions. But right now, I have to worry about a lot of things. For one thing, nobody's there to wash the dishes. So that's the reality of things. I'll share the techniques that I've used. Also, when I had to spend 90 to 100% of my work at home, it's very hot. I think early last year, because we had no idea if we were to stay at home for more than 3 months to 6 months. So I had no idea if I had to optimize my work setup at home. And the third issue there is sometimes it's really hard to lose focus and it's kind of trickier to manage your time. So now, that said, as you can see here, I purchased a gaming chair. Yeah, so it doesn't really suits the work environment setup, but from my end, given that I am sitting for about 10 to 12 hours per day, it's critical that one, it's comfortable, so that you can continue working for 3 to 4 hours straight without having to stand up. Of course, you have to stand up, and I'll talk about that later because um, we cannot opt to just sit down and continue working. Otherwise, you'll get sick. Next, if you can see the screen here, there's a large TV there, a monitor, TV. So sometimes I use that when playing. I don't get to play anymore. I think last December I got to play for about 2 hours and then have to work already. But I can use that for dual screen purposes. So let's say that I am watching a meeting. I'm part of a meeting, and I also have to do work. So the meeting is shown in the screen, while in the laptop I'm doing other things. Because of course, even if people recommend that we do not multitask, especially when you're working as part of the senior management team or the XCOM team, you have to multitask because sometimes the meetings are slow. Sometimes there are multiple things being discussed in the meetings. It's important you're able to multitask, and that's one of the techniques. I also have backup laptops to make sure that when one laptop is focused on one thing, I can do other things with the other laptop. So, and you can see that my mouse here is also a gaming mouse. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but it's comfortable to the hands. And yeah, I'm not really a gamer, so but my setup looks like as if I were a gamer. So, but it would help you because if you're a gamer, of course you would spend 10 hours playing, right? So you have to find a way to make it very comfortable for you to work at home or playing at home. Yes, and the next one would be the second image here. So the books. So of course, if you were to ask me, why am I purchasing these books? Well, why do I need to buy these books if I can get them online, right? There are multiple answers here. The first one is that one, it pressures you to read those books. So I can't remember what it's called, but there are a lot of people that buy these books. Oh, I like this book. I like the abstract or something. I like the cover. And then after buying those 10 books, they will only read one half of the first book and then they will just store them at home. And they won't really read those things. From my end, I have probably read 60 to 70% of the content of all of these books this past 5 years. I think these are the books I have purchased this past 3 to 5 years. Of course, I take the time to read all of them. There are some books here which I haven't touched at all, probably just one or two. But I can tell you that having physical books stuck at home would help you read these things. Yeah. So there. So why is reading books important? It's important because it helps you learn things and upgrade yourself without having to experience things first. So usually people want to learn through experience, but when you want your success rate to be higher, you need to have some sort of foundation or model in your mind before you start executing. So before executing something, it's better that you have a plan, you have examples on how other people did it, and you have to execute. So I would recommend for you guys to read books. It doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be self-help books. Having books at home would help you adjust to the day-to-day work and the stress. All right. So now let's look at how my typical workday looks like. Here you can see that. So this is more or less how it looks like. It's around 80 to 90% accurate. Okay. So I wake up around 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. So that's early. Sometimes I work earlier. I wake up earlier. Depends on how much rest I had the previous night. Usually I get to rest at least 4 to 5 hours. And then when I'm lucky, I get to rest for an additional 2 to 3 hours if I'm super tired. But the good thing here is that I had to work backwards because this past 4 to 5 years, most of the time I had at work is already filled up with meetings. So let's say that there's a 9-hour block, let's say 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 p.m. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Already assume that 6 to 8 hours of your day would be composed of both planned and unplanned meetings. That said, if you have work to do, let's say that you have to process the outcome of a meeting, you have to work on the follow-through steps. You won't have time during the normal work hours to work on them. That's why I have to allocate 2 to 3 hours outside of the work hours to work on them. Of course, other people will tell you, hey, you're a workaholic. Well, I have no choice. It's really part of the job. And other people will tell you, no, you should try to fit that in your normal work hours. I've tried that in the past. It may work, but I think there's too much unpredictability for something like that to work. If you're super capable of protecting your time, then do that. But from my end, it's this is what worked for me. Yeah. So 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. work and clean up. Clean up is important because even if we get to work, it doesn't mean that it's done. Clean up involves organizing things. Clean up involves making sure that nothing's forgotten. Clean up involves updating the appropriate team members for that. Yeah, cleanup is very important because it's super hard to work if everything around you is messed up. And then every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday, I do Muay Thai and boxing. So that's one. I originally allocated 1 hour for that, but after measuring the amount of time it took, it's really one. It's technically 1.25 hours. Yes, because there's stretching, there's the warm up sessions, and then after that I have enough energy and mental energy to focus on the next 8 hours of work. Because sometimes when we don't exercise, the problem there is we assume that our body can adapt to the stressful environments. The best approach here is to assume that life will be stressful. That's why you have to be super prepared in taking life on by being by having the energy and the positivity to work on these things. So as you can see, Saturday and Sunday I literally spend half of my day sleeping. So Mondays to Fridays I get to sleep around 4 to 6 hours per day per night, and then Saturday Sunday I basically sleep around 10 p.m. on a Friday or maybe 11 p.m. on a Friday, and then Saturday I wake up around 12 noon already. And when I wake up, I eat lunch, rest for a bit, and then I do Muay Thai and boxing. And then I do some additional work or clean up so that I'm quite ready for next week. It doesn't usually happen, but I consider work, let's say updating my book, doing some R&D work, doing some experiments, so that you won't get tired with your day-to-day work. You need to have some sort of fun to make sure that you're also learning while you're working, right? You need to have time to upskill yourself. All right. So again, exercise at least 3 times per week. I'm not sure if this link is working. Hopefully it does. Oh, it's working. Oh yeah. So this is me, the one the one with the headgear.
The red one.
So I have been doing this. So I've been doing boxing and Muay Thai for about 5 years already. Yeah, or 6. I can't remember. So when I started, I was super weak. I was super thin. I didn't have any muscles. I am strong. My core strength at that time, 5 or 6 years ago, it was good. I can do ab workout. I can do some push-ups. But if I were to punch someone or if I were to carry someone, it would be much harder 5 to 7 years ago. What I told myself is that if I didn't start exercising and trying it out myself, I wouldn't improve. But right now, after 2 or 3 months just doing 4 times a week of Muay Thai and just following the fundamentals, I was able to come to a point where I can consider myself enough to make it hard for a fighter to basically put some pressure on a fighter. So this trainer of mine, I recruited him to train me for 4 times a week for the past 4 months. And the good thing here is that I got stronger. I had more energy for work. I had more time for myself, and I can do things much faster because I had more energy and the mental capacity to work on things. So this is something I would recommend. It may not necessarily be Muay Thai, but as you can see here, it's somewhat rare for someone who uses their mind first to also have physical to be above average when it comes to physical parang capability. So let's watch it for 30 seconds. So this is me, the one in the red corner. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a short video, but as you can see, there came a point where I could last for around 8 to 9 rounds, up to 10 rounds. So I think this is the 5th round. The good thing there is when I started 5 years ago, I could only last for 2 rounds in the ring, because doing sparring is probably 3 times what it requires to. Let's say that you're doing gym workout. After, let's say, 30 minutes, you're tired, right? 3 times of that, it would be equivalent to one session where the trainer would give you the mitts training, and then 3 times of that, it's equivalent to 1 round of sparring. So 3 minutes here is super tiring, and now that I'm able to last for 8 to 10 rounds without getting tired. So yeah, so it varies between 6 to 10 rounds. But as you can see, if you were to watch boxing or Muay Thai fights, you would see that after the 4th round or 5th round, even the professional fighters would be very tired, because it's a very tiring exercise. But of course, it helps you recover, it helps you recharge right away. And this is basically one of my techniques to instantly recover from fatigue. So that's a quick intro. I'll have Matt share the screen again, but I think we can now talk about the question and answer part.
All right. Wow. Thanks, Arvs, for sharing that. Napakaliksi mo na pala ngayon dun sa
Tsaka pwede na pala. Privately.
Ano, ini-schedule ka na ba ng coach mo for practice match? So,
yun yung goal niya. Although sabi ko pang exercise lang tong, baka ma-injure pa ako eh. Biglang nilalaksan yun. Tapos kapag kaya ko pa daw, patama pa daw ako. So pag nakita nyo yung sa recording dito, nilalakasan niya na. Nung first time kasi namin nag-sparring, ako lang yung sumusuntok eh. Napapansin ko, after 1 month, pagtingin ko, gumagalaw na yung kamay niya. Tapos ngayon, kapag medyo sanay na yung mata mo sa kakatawan mo, pag naka-adjust na, ang lalakas na ng suntok. As in siguro kung hindi ka prepared, tumba ka agad eh. Pero ngayon, ang nakakatawa dyan, natuto na ako kung paano umilag. So, ang galing. Ano siya? Hindi ko in-expect na aaralin ko din yung mga techniques and timing. Tapos pati nga pag-counter, pag sumuntok yung trainer, sabi niya, gumanon daw ako ng mabilis. Ano siya? Okay siya kasi bumibilis yung reflexes mo and gumagaling ka sa decision making. So yeah, it's fun. Kaya nga ngayon, very positive.
Hyper!
Nice. Thanks for sharing that.
Ako muna mag-ask?
Yeah, sige.
Wala to dun sa questions
eh. Pero naisip ko kanina nung pinakita ni Arvs yung schedule niya for the week. Yung question ko is, natutulog ka pa ba?
Ayan. Yes. Oo. May mga days na hindi ako natutulog. Okay. So, 95% of the time, natutulog ako 5 hours per day. May mga times na kapag sobrang daming deadlines, natutulog na lang mag-isa yung katawan ko for 1 hour to 2 hours. May ganun akong mode na 10% ng situation. Ano na siya eh, kapag malapit na yung weekend, ang ginagawa ko is meron akong 16 hours na dire-diretso. Tapos lahat ng trabaho, sobrang daming natapos. Tapos sa sobrang pagod, makakatulog ka na lang pagising mo Saturday na. So ang bago kong technique ngayon, 4 hours, natutulog ako ng normal. Pagdating nung last day, kapag malapit sa holiday, parang ito, di ba may holidays yung yung February 2. So ang ginawa ko nung mag-holiday na, one night before nung holiday, matutulog lang ako ng 2 hours nung last day before nung holiday. Tapos yung work day, bago nung holiday, dire-diretsuin ko yun. So gising ako ng mga 2 a.m. hanggang 8 p.m. Tatapusin ko lahat ng trabaho ko para, para pagdating mo ng holiday, makakapagpahinga ka talaga. Diba? Ayaw mo kasi mag-overflow eh. So pag tinatanong niyo ako kung nagpapahinga ako, yes. And also, ang okay sa Muay Thai training, required ka magpahinga. Kasi tinry ko before na nag-boxing and Muay Thai, tapos wala kang tulog. Mahirap eh. As in, kapag sumusuntok ka sa boxing and Muay Thai, parang lalamya-lamya eh. Kapag kompleto yung tulog mo, tapos marami kang energy, ayan, mas lalakas ka during training. Otherwise kasi maghihingalo yung katawan mo pag wala kang tulog. Yes, ngayon natutulog na ako properly. May may techniques lang ako to adjust kung nag-i-stretch yung work record. Yeah, good question, Nikki.
Nag-a-adjust yung tulog?
Oo. Paano ko ba-explain? Ano siya 90% routine, 'di ba? Tapos may 10% na syempre hindi mo naman ma-generalize sa lahat ng bagay, lahat ng strategy mo . So meron akong technique na nag-auto scale yung time.
Yung tulog.
Yung tulog ko onte, tapos babawi na lang dun sa next day.
Okay.
Pero yan, matanda na kasi tayo. Kailangan ng bumawi ng tulog.
Nice. Okay. May isang interesting dito question kami for you. What were your main struggles early in your career, and as you move towards more senior and now as an executive? So what were your main struggles during that period? Transition.
Okay. Good question. Actually, ang sagot dyan, dalawa yung ma-mention kong sagot ko dyan. Yung first is yung early stages ng career, especially when I had to transition from student to full-time. So nung college ako, nagpa-part-time work na ako nung college para ma-experience yung work setup, diba? Tapos nag-transition ako to full-time work right after graduating. Yun yung first na case. And then yung second case is yung transition from let's say senior or team lead na position to someone na nasa manager or senior manager na positions, diba? So may dalawang case kasi usually doon nahihirapan yung mga tao. The first one is when you're a student. The tricky part sa case ko is usually kapag student ka, hindi mo alam kung magaling ka or hindi. Usually merong void na parang okay ba ako pagdating sa work? Kasi minsan pag magaling kang student, hindi necessarily yun na magiging magaling ka sa work. So, and also may part din kasi as students na dahil sa hirap ng mga courses and subjects sa school, minsan minsan magde-desire ka ng acknowledgement from the world. So usually common yun sa lahat ng tao na gusto nilang nasasabi, ay magaling ka, ganyan. Hindi ko alam kung genetics yun or what, or ganun talaga yung lahat ng tao. Pero what I can say is, nung nagkaroon ng competition, 2012 yata yun, security competition. Tapos yung research paper namin na-submit, and merong competition na na-submit yung research paper sa Asia, tapos sa global, nanalo yung paper namin dun sa world security na competition. So nung nanalo kami doon, ang nangyari doon is world champion kami kasi may billboard, nasa newspaper every time. So from my end, paniwala ako sa sarili ko ng time na yun. Na sobrang galing ako. As in, talaga yun, syempre world champion, di ba? Sabihin mo sa sarili mo parang, uy, ang galing ko. Parang I owned it. Kasi talaga, nagulat talaga ako na nanalo kami. So, merong swerte, may part doon na skill. Pero of course, ang problem doon is merong false perception or may false perception na sobrang galing mo. Na hindi mo alam na competition yun. Hindi yun necessarily mag-reflect sa work. So merong 2 weeks sa work na nag-underperform ako. Sa standards ko, na parang, bakit ganun? Parang, sa tingin ko, galing ko na. Pero pagdating mo sa work, bakit parang nagagawa mo lang yung 70 to 80% of what's really required? When before, nung di pa ako nanalo sa competition, nagagawa ko yung 100 to 120%, as in I'm giving it all. So I realized na hindi talaga sila related at all. Na yung success mo doon may not necessarily be the same doon sa work. Oo. So it helps you yung sa confidence mo, di ba? Pero minsan nag-underperform yung tao kasi merong victory. So may kasabihan, victory has defeated you. Yan, di ba? And what I did to neutralize that is, ang ginawa ko is, after ko kasing after naming mag-champion dun sa world, na-invite na ako dun sa mga conferences, let's say RootCon, mga major security conferences. Kahit na medyo bata pa ako nun, weird na nai-invite ako sa ganung mga conferences na yung mga speakers, mga experts talaga. Siyempre, gusto mo yung mga speakers, mga at least 6 to 8 years of experience yan na talagang subject matter experts of their own field. And looking back, sure ako na hindi ako subject matter expert. Nanalo lang ako sa competition. It doesn't make me, it never made me a subject matter expert of security. I can say na academically I'm good sa security. Pero pagdating mo sa hands-on, sabihin mo paatakihin mo yung ganitong website, hindi ko yun kayang gawin. So, ang ginawa ko nun is 2 years ako na sinabi ko sa sarili ko na I will not participate in conferences and talks. Sabi ko sa sarili ko na 2 years to 3 years, magte-training muna ako to the point na kapag confident na ako, saka na ako mag-talk ulit. Yun. So, ang ginawa ko,
Battle test muna.
oo, yun. So, parang training. So, ang ginawa ko, nung nandun ba ako sa Dilgrocer Beauty ML, dun sa first 7 to 8 hours ng day ko, trabaho. Tapos, yung last 5 hours ng day, given na medyo bata pa ako nun, mga nasa 22 to 26 years old, madami pa akong energy nun eh. So, kahit mag-spend ako ng 5 hours per day doing training and upgrading my skills, ano siya, na-upgrade ko yung sarili ko to the point na masasabi ko 8/10 or 9/10 na ako sa technology. So, dumating na nga yung point na pasobra nga yata eh. Pero ang okay doon is, nung nag-talk na ako ulit, 2 or 3 years after, masasabi ko na talagang more than above average na yung capability. And yung second part sa struggle sa work is transitioning from a team lead to someone part ng manager or senior management na team. Magkaiba kasi yung work. Sometimes, as a team lead, meron tayong perception to think na critical na parang kung ano yung ginagawa mo parang senior developer or team lead na role, let's say coding, yun yung kailangan mong skills for a senior level position or let's say manager position. Sobrang iba ng skills. So kahit na before, pag nag-code ako ng 10 hours worth ng work, nagagawa ko ng 1 oras, hindi yun yung kailangan mong skill kapag manager ka or senior manager. Yun. So what I did is, nagkaroon ako ng opportunity to become a director earlier in my life, let's say 25 years old, tapos CTO ng 26. Kapa yun. As in, nung time na yun, akala ko para galing ako. Yun pala, I was doing the opposite. So kahit sabihin kong nasisave ko yung mga systems, yung mga emergencies in 1 day solved na ganyan, or 1 hour solved na, it doesn't necessarily make you a good manager. So ngayon, when you are part of a senior management team, mas magandang mas paranoid ka, mas magandang mas organized, and hindi ka dapat magre-rely lagi sa talent. Before kasi I had to demonstrate, genius, talent, yan, boom, tapos na 3 oras. Hindi pwedeng ganun when you're managing a much bigger company. You have to find a way to plan things properly, super organized, tapos dapat schedule lahat. And yun, being able to manage your energy and time, and being able to listen more. Yung part na listening more, yun yung something na I have to share with you. Kasi may 2 types yun. Yung first type sa listening more is listening on what is being said. So feedback systems. Yung second part would be listening to the words which were never said. Yun yung isang skill na na-develop ko or natutunan ko over time. Kasi while I was managing the different teams this past 4 or 5 years, most of the things na naririnig natin na nagko-complain ng mga tao, hindi mo sila masasagot by doing what they're saying. Ikaw talaga yung kailangan makinig and mag-experiment kung ano talaga yung gumagana. Kasi what they're sharing kasi is what they think are the solutions when in fact something else could have solved that. So ngayon, na natanggal na yung confusion na yun, I can see things properly now. Meron na akong framework to follow. I can say na things are much easier now, at least from my end. Mas stable na, mas predictable na yung day-to-day. Back to Matt and Nick. Thank you for that question.
Oh, wow. Thanks for all those insights, Arvs. Very good insights, especially.
Mental model.
Yeah. Yun nga talaga isa sa mga main struggles towards iba-ibang skill set talaga yung kailangan from just being an individual contributor, and then now you're suddenly responsible for the results of now a whole company. So definitely a lot of gem in that answer. Ikaw naman, Miki, maybe we can pick one more question from our list, and then we'll have we can take one question from the audience then.
What do you normally use Python for
In your current role?
Ayan. Good question. Hindi ko pwede share yung details. Kasi medyo XCOM level.
Okay.
Pero meron part ng process namin na I felt was super slow. So I'll keep it vague. So meron part ng process namin na super slow. At least from my end kasi as part na nung senior management team. C-level director level na. We only have, let's say, 10 to 20% of our time max to code. Diba? Siguro weekends na yun. Pero nagko-contribute sa work. From my end, nagagamit siya sa work kasi meron kaming area doon na 3 to 5 days yung 3 to 5 days inaabot. Tapos inaccurate na. Tapos ang dami pang back and forth. Tapos hindi mo pa alam kung magkasucceed. So what I did is I had to optimize yung 5 days to 6 days worth ng work na yon to 15 seconds. Okay, through automation and through machine learning. And yung nakakatawa doon is nag-provide ako ng multiple na models na pwedeng gamitin for machine learning. Linear regression, table structure na model, saka yung isang neural network. Since yung mas kailangan namin black box yung ginamit ko, yung mas mahirap i-reverse engineer yung neural networks. So I'll probably leave that at that, pero ang masasabi ko is natuwa ako na kasi nung time na yun kasi bandang 9 PM na kami na nag-meeting. Tapos sabi ko, I can prepare a proof of concept and give you the results after 1 week. Na-realize ko, ba't papabuti ko pa ng 1 week, kaya naman ng 3 hours yan. So ang ginawa ko is ginamit ko yung Python, tapos pinrovide ko yung proof of concept, kinrunch ko yung data, nirun ko yung yung training job. Tapos meron na akong script na saka model na kapag pinasok mo yung mga bagong numbers na hindi pa na-encounter before, makakapag-predict siya ng bagong value. Yan, hanggang doon lang. I cannot share anything more. Pero as you can see, Python kasi for me is something na hindi na siya stuck sa web applications. It can be used for anything na day-to-day job. Kasi usually yung mga tools like Excel, it can only help you to a certain point. May limit eh. Pag kailangan mo na ng dynamic na solution, first thing that comes into mind for me is Python. Yeah. Python the best.
Di ba parang very cool yung idea rin kasi you actually got to use machine learning to actually solve a very specific problem dun sa it's usually yung mga problems that no other engineers want to touch.
Yeah.
I think I still have one more question pala. Ito tracking back early on siguro sa career mo. When did you start using Python and what for?
Okay. I started using Python nung student pa lang. I think 3rd year college. Yeah. So sa UP kasi maraming languages na tinuturo. Meron dong ang tinuturo sa UP kasi at that time was C, tapos may Java yata. Alam ko may Java, C, Java first year. Second year kasi nag-part-time na ako, PHP yung gamit. Tapos meron pang ASP.NET eh. Tapos tumigil ako sa pag-part-time after ko maka 1 year ng part-time. Nag-work ako sa isang company called Pythonista. Nung 3rd year yata ako or 2nd year and a half. Parang 2nd year and a half. For 1 to 2 years nag-work ako. Python yung gamit. Tapos yung mga clients iba-iba. Tapos doon ako nakamit ng mga clients na taga-America yung iba, taga-US. Tapos yung iba Filipino clients, ganyan. Python yung gamit doon sa Pythonista. And then pag-ipag ko sa Dilgroser sa Compute-ML, ang language is Ruby nung start. Tapos nung may mga data scientists nang pumapasok na nag-join kasi lumalaki na yung company, Python na yung ginagamit and a bit of R. Tapos paglipat ko sa Complete Business Online, tapos Jepto sa Insights, heavily used yung Python dun sa mga companies na yan. Pero when I started with Python, yan, I really found it na very elegant na language and very, very powerful. Kasi nung time na yun, hindi pa ganun ka-hype yung mga data science and machine learning eh. It was still yung mga image processing nun, image processing lang yung tawag. Tapos yung web application development, programming lang yung tawag. Pag bumuo ka ng website, wow, may website. Ngayon, gulo-gulo, ang dami ng mga combinations ngayon. What I can say now is Python for me is I'm very lucky to have used Python much earlier in my career kasi mas nakapag-focus ako sa coding and meron siyang enough flexibility to allow yung mga meta-programming na mga techniques para kung gusto mong pagandahin yung code mo. In addition to focusing on writability, pati readability, makakapag-focus ka. So I think magandang evolution din from Python 2 to Python 3 na it did help dun sa parts na yan. Pero yeah, heavily used yung Python this past 10 to 12 years. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. Right. So I think maybe we can entertain one question from the audience. that Arvs can answer. So pwede nyo i-type na lang sa chat or
Kung
ask him
nahihiya kami
directly.
na lang magbabasa. Yeah. Or you can also say it yourself. Meron ba? O nahihiya masyado?
Okay ba hiya, guys?
Oh, meron pang umabol.
Anyone? Going once?
Pwede tayo mag-dominate. How about si Eisen? Eisen?
Yes, sorry.
And
Hello?
you want,
Hi, Aisen.
hello.
Hi. Sorry, di ko nakinig. Ano yung question and answer na ba to? Or...
Yeah, no. Meron ka bang gustong itanong sa
Ano natin sa guest?
Okay. Yeah, meron nung isang araw nag-ask ako ng question sa group sa Facebook kung anong mas mga decent algorithms for a news feed for an online forum.
Okay. Algorithms to use for an online forum. Anong use case pala? Thank you for asking a question.
Use case is may mga posts like blogs, like mga ganun.
Okay. Forum or parang blog post? Or both?
Forum.
Forum.
Parang both eh.
Okay.
Yeah, parang both eh.
Okay. So thank you. Yeah, sige. Thank you for asking your question. At least from my end, medyo vague siya, pero I'll share my framework para at least meron ka
Thank
idea
you.
paano mag-navigate dun sa algorithms. So usually, when starting with data science and machine learning, you consider it as wow, parang magic, di ba? Oo. Pero if you think about it, parang security din siya eh. So usually pag security machine learning, we treat them as parang sarili nilang fields. When in fact, think of them as techniques or tools to help you solve a specific requirement. So at the end of the day, babaksak yan sa requirements nyo. So for example, you need to perform, let's say, tagging or identifying kung spam ba yung message or not, or nanggugulo yung isang person or not. Yun yung parang quote-unquote business requirement or requirement ng customer or client. Tapos yung second part is yung technical na solution or yung technique. So ngayon, na na-identify mo na yung first problem or requirement mo is yung pag-identify kung spam or not spam. Kung algorithms yung tanong mo, meron namang mga text classification ng mga algorithms. Marami yun. So pag nag-search ka ng text classification or anything na ng spam detection, pwede siyang ma-solve with machine learning. Pwede siyang ma-solve ng hindi machine learning yung gamit. And ang masasabi ko kasi dyan is kapag machine learning gagamitin mo, kapag wala ka pang model, you have to train it. You have to perform yung machine learning process. You have to have your data set. Pero kung kailangan mo ng mabilis sa sagot, mag-rule-based ka na lang na solution. Okay yun kapag wala ka.
Rule-based. Okay. Sige. Thank you, Arvs. Tayong tulong.
Salamat.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Eisen, for that question. Right, I think that's all the time that we have. Thank you again, Arbs, for spending your time with us this afternoon, and also thank you for all those who attended. Thank you all for being here. I think we're still live on Facebook right now. I think there's like six people watching there. Yeah, on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being there. I mean, this link will still be around. So those who want to catch up, watch this later on this week, we'll be sharing the link on our Facebook group. So we'll be doing this over the coming months. We'll be like I said, we'll be interviewing different people. So just watch out for that. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Arbs, and thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And
Bye.
sa attendees pala, if you have comments or suggestions of how you want the show to be, ano lang, yeah, just siguro paano ba?
Siguro pag nag-post tayo ng link with a YouTube video on Facebook group, then maybe some of you guys can comment on may mga certain formats pa kayong gustong
Or
yeah.
people.
Yeah, we're open for anything, I guess. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye, guys. Thanks, Arbs.
Thank you.